All right, let's jump into it. Start off with Aussie because we do have CPI sort of coming out in 25 minutes or so. So I'll try and make this a little bit of a quick one. But as I said, Aussie, good place to start. We are sort of seeing it sort of hit that butt heads with that resistance level. Where if we go back to just back in July before we had this mammoth sell down, what an incredible V shape! You don't get V shapes like this. These are very rare to sort of get with it all. Um, this is where we saw the sellers come just sort of like, before we saw that large sell-off. This is again where we're seeing the market say, look, till you give us concrete evidence that we're sort of going, we're hiking rates, US are actually sort of cutting rates. This is where they're trying to hold it for the time being. So CPI will be interesting today because we've got 3.8% as a previous, and then we have 3.4 as the expectation. So with a lower CPI print, people would sort of market would tend to take that as, oh, look, you know what, the inflation stories sort of, coming in the right direction, so it might be okay for us. So it wouldn't be inclined to sort of see more upside should you get a cooler print. Um, Obviously, Aussie has been like all things against the US dollar has just been on an absolute rip. Not even from there, I mean, go way back down here, but it has been on an absolute rip. And this is coming up into a potential double top area through here. Now, it doesn't mean that, okay, we're coming back down over here. These were the levels that we wanted to sort of see. I mean, look, well, this is just a couple of days ago, really. Kissed that buy zone and bang, it took up the next leg. But if we get a high print, then that's like, well, inflation story is still prevalent. We still need to sort of address that. And that's pretty much nail in the coffin for the idea that RBA would probably be sort of looking to hike rates. Um, so we've got to sort of wait to sort of see what happens through this because, as I said, with such a low expectation, as in low, as in drop off, as in cooler print, as the expectation, it really leads to the idea that there's a fairly large room for error. So if it comes down, that's positive. If it doesn't come down by as much, well, that's, obviously it's in the right direction. It leaves it in that gray area because, yes, it's an improvement on the last, but it's not an improvement as much as the market should, in theory, have been pricing for. So I mean, US dollar so weak is one of the main drivers with Aussie, but at the same time, the idea that sort of like, the CPI is going to come in lower isn't really priced into the market here at all. Because remember, if it comes in lower, then that means there's less likelihood or, less emphasis on the idea that they're going to have to cut rates. And if they, sorry, hike rates. And if there's less likely to hike the rates or at least leave the rates higher for longer, well, that's in turn going to be, in theory, weak for the Aussie dollar. We're not seeing weak on the Aussie dollar. We're seeing obviously super bullish momentum and super bullish strength. I mean, these dips, even look at this last pullback here, 38%, and we're back up to the top here again. So look, if we get a high print, Aussie's going to break out. 3.8% and above, Aussie's going through 68. We'll probably be looking up around 68.50 for the next level. Now, if it comes in lower, I think that sort of leads more into the camp of, maybe the rates are at a right level. Maybe we don't need to hike. Maybe they can start the conversation about the cuts again. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case, but on a sort of actual outcome basis, that is how the market should react. So yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, there's a lot of levels of support through here. So even if we do get a drop down here, if US dollar remains to be sold into quite heavily, then that's just going to keep the story going. We've got a nice little line here, which we can use as a bottom end of a bit of a channel. Not so much of a channel because it obviously didn't get the completion up over here. So you've got sort of like a little top end target over here. If the sort of outcome isn't sort of super dramatic, you've got a little top outcome top price target over here coming into contact with this. You've got a lower support coming in with this over here. So yeah, look, I think sort of we'll probably sort of get a lower print. I don't know if we're going to see 3.4%. I would say maybe 3.5, 3.6%. As I said earlier, I think that'll leave us in a little bit of a grey area. I think typically we may see a little bit of a sell-off, but then I think the story reverts back to particularly just straight US dollar strength because we're seeing equity market sell off a little bit. And so with the equity market selling off, that should be seeing a little bit of risk aversion flood across the market. But we're not seeing this. We're seeing Aussie sort of still stay quite buoyant. I mean, you can see it's right up near the top. The dips and the pullbacks are very, very shallow. So, you know what I mean? It sort of goes to sort of show that, the market is happy to buy it no matter what. So, yeah, we'll have to sort of wait and see. We've got 20 minutes now. See how that comes out. I'm predicting. Well, I mean, this is just purely just my sort of thought with it all because I think it's a fairly tough call to make on this one. That we will get a drop off. I don't think the drop off will be as much as is expected. I think Aussie dollar will drop off a little bit on that, but then I imagine it to be bought up quite quickly. So if we get down to sort of maybe 60s or maybe the sort of 50s area again, I imagine buyers to sort of step back in and then try and sort of keep this up in this higher sort of range through here. So maybe, yeah, as I said, lining up with those sort of 60 levels that we saw as a fairly strong support yesterday. And okay, so flip across, we got, as I said, DXY. I was talking to a mate actually yesterday. I was look, it's setting up for a little ascending triangle. It sort of broke this, but didn't quite sell off straight away. And I said, look, get rid of the idea that we're having this and sort of put in some little horizontals here. We broke down this, retest up the top here, and then I said, look, it's going to come back and retest the lows. And as you can see, it's just taken out the lows here where, the market decided, okay, look, that's enough for now. Let's step back in a little bit and try and sort of keep it a little bit buoyant there. Because remember, these two red lines are the wicks from last year, July and December. So really underneath here, you've got a big drop down. Like that's a big drop. And there's not really much in way of previous price action to, excuse me, support the idea that you're going to actually sort of get any sort of rally anywhere between this. So I imagine this to be cutting quite quickly as it does come down through here. So in the short term, look, it's obviously still super weak. We're seeing a slight little level of support come in here now. Twice we've touched this area. So you've got yourself a nice little potential lower range through here. Top side still remains, as we had said yesterday, you need to get above that 101 really. 101.60, so 160 here at the moment. Above 101 to sort of see potential sort of, it's not going to be a turnaround, but to see a little bit more of a squeeze higher over here. It's really hard to see any reason to be sort of buying and holding US dollar other than just potential sort of, short-term squeezes. So with that in mind, any sort of strong rally up, as we saw this move up here yesterday, they couldn't even muster enough to squeeze it or push it up over here. And bang, sold back down to the lows. So oversold. This is on the 1 hour. Look, again, this is the negative divergence. We're seeing the buying again with this lower high here. With this second low come in with the buying pressure a little bit higher again. So, there's reason to stand that you may just see consolidation through this zone till FOMC, which is coming up very soon. So yeah, it's as I said, it's hard to sort of see why you'd sort of be wanting to buy it with sort of cuts like right around the corner, but it still doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be sold down even further prior to that. Break the bottom side here, take out those wicks. Well, as I said, that just opens the door up. You've had every chance to hold this level. You've decided not to. They're dumping it. They're getting rid of it. Well, bang, and away it'll go. Gold had a bit of a push up overnight. As you can see here, really was trying to get down here. I had some entries for longs at 25. Got down to what 25.03. So I got close, but not quite there. And we're seeing it sort of again retest the highs over here. This is going to be waiting on to see what or when DXY takes the next leg down. Takes the next leg down, that'll give it the fuel to go up to the top side here. So again, this is our little zone here. Whoop, what's going on there? up over here in the 30s, and you can see it's just clipped into it, and obviously it rejected a little bit through there. Again, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be sort of flying up. We are seeing a little bit of a weak push on this one though. If you look at this here, because this is a little bit, this is a 4 hour. So if we put this through here, that is a little bit of a sort of negative divergence to sort of get up there. It's not sort of confirmed yet. I mean, so far it is a little bit of a divergence, but really you'd want to get below 25 to be seeing anything sort of deeper to pull back. Again, look, I'd probably sort of be putting your lower end of this sort of potential range through here. Meaning, if we do get a sort of pull back and a push down here, US dollar rally, that these are the kind of areas you can again look to sort of get long on things. So there's certainly some room to play this range, because this range itself is that's a 44 buck range. So certainly if people think it's going right through right now, there's some areas, some good liquidity to sort of really snap it out to sort of get down here again, flip the liquidity to the other side, and then be able to run it back up the other side there as well. Silver. Again, it's just coming up. It's just really, silver's holding up quite well though. I mean, you can see through here, this is just your little breakout box. That price target is getting very close now. The longer that we sort of consolidate through here, the obviously the lower that this actual sort of line comes, which is our falling resistance. And we could sort of see that, potentially up around 30, 45 or so, we may be sort of getting a bit of a touch up of that level there. So, yeah, look, I think it may be a little bit capped if it's going to get up to the top over here. But, in saying that, breakouts do happen. And this is certainly not really sort of giving up much. Like, as it sort of goes up to the top side, it's just, sorry, as it gets sold down from the top side, buyers are just holding it in this little range here. So let's make him a little breakout box, and you can sort of wait. If we get a breakdown below here, well, then you can look back down around sort of low 29s. So about a 60 cent drop off here, about a 60 cent, 60 cent push to the top side here to make that one sort of a completion of that move. Flip across. Okay, we've done DXY, gold, Aussie, copper. Copper just continues to break. I missed this one here by like, I don't know, 10 points or something, some ridiculously tight amount to buy this little pullback here. But this is exactly what was said. We said up, down, up, down. Yes, it came up here first, but it was this sort of pullback. We saw the buyers jump off this line, move their buys up, and then obviously, boom, it's taken it off up here. So we are sort of coming well into this sort of previous area here. I think this will actually be a little bit of an issue because, as you can see, this is the actual level through here that we saw the buyers try to hold it. They've got a chance to get out. Bang, they're going to take it, regroup, and then maybe they'll look to sort of get back in down here. So I'm not going to be chasing this at the moment. I think sort of I'll be looking for something potentially moving through a range like this. And if I can get back down here around this 420s area, I'll be sort of looking to sort of pile back on a little bit with it just to see what we can do. All right, we've got 13 minutes, and China still just grinding. I have to admit, this is one of the sort of more boring sort of charts to sort of go through a lot of the time, because it'll do nothing, it'll move, and then it'll just hit this grind patch, just grind. But we are still on these supports down the bottom side here, and while the one is threatening this downside move here, that's what's also adding to why sort of Aussie's sort of holding a little bit stronger. But if we don't get the breakdown here and we get a little bit of rejection, particularly if we actually break out of this little smaller short-term sort of consolidation and come up and retest these levels over here, then that's going to see a bit of a deeper pullback on Aussie. But certainly at the moment, Aussie's very much on the bid. Anything that's even remotely sold down is bought up straight away. So we'll just have to sort of see how the CPI sort of comes out in a few minutes. So I'll flip across, have a quick look, and let's refresh these ones. Overnight, USD consumer confidence, that was ticked up. It was also revised up. That should have given US dollar a little bit of a kick. Didn't really so much. This is the big one that we're looking for today. Aussie CPI 3.8 down to 3.4. As I said, look, if it comes in low, Aussie will sell off. If it comes in 3.8 and above, Aussie will sort of break out over 68 cents. That's pretty much the call for that one there. Even if it does get sold off, I imagine it, as I said, it to be sort of picked up quite early, particularly if US dollar continues to sell down. But we'll have to sort of see how that plays out. So 10 minutes from that now. And rest of the session, again, pretty quiet. Pretty, look, we've got a Fed speaker or something for some reason in the middle of the day here, which would be like, isn't that like sort of 5 in the morning for them? 8 hours or something behind. So 3, yeah, 6 in the morning. Very, very early for them. And then, yeah, not a great deal going on there. Got a bit of US data tomorrow, GDP 2.8, expected 2.8, unemployment claims 232, expected 232. So, yeah, I mean, not really too much to go on about. We got a bit of retail sales for Aussie coming up on Friday. That's looking for a little bit of a tick down. Tick down supports Aussie up. And that's about it. Moving forward, we've got core PCE late Friday night, and again, very flat. Like all the data looks to just be so pretty much remaining even for USD. All right, that's it from me. We'll see how we go with CPI. Ciao.